What to do? Hi everyone, just wondering if anyone else has gone through what I am right now. I am a mother of 3, and I am currently pregnant with my 4th child. I recently got married last July. My husband and I live in Hawaii and live on different islands. He is not the father of the first 3 children. A little history. He was a close friend and we've known each other as friends for a while. He then later confided in me that he has admired me for years and wanted to see me. We dated for a month and he said he loved me and wanted to be with me forever. I was in shock. My feelings were growing for him rapidly. Of course, we all know this is the fantastical honeymoon stage. There were some goings-on around us that had to do with a lot of mortality on both sides of our family. We felt we loved each other, and one night he looked at me and said, "I'm going to marry you tomorrow." Again, shock. We talked and he seemed so very adamant at being a part of my life and my children's lives, and accepting responsibility for them. I don't think he really knew what that meant. My husband is 25 and I am a little older than he. By 5 years, so long story short, we decided to get married. By August I was pregnant. Eventually he began getting distant, accusing me of wanting to be with my ex, posting lies on Facebook about me. On our 6th-month anniversary in January, he sends me a happy anniversary text. That night he says it's over, that he can't do it anymore, he can't take the pressure. I told him I'm not pressuring him. He agreed that I wasn't but said there was other pressure. I soon found out his family wasn't pro our marriage. He then proceeded to cut me off. He removed his wedding ring, went out, got drunk. I only know this because we have mutual friends on Facebook, and acted like we were never married. However, legally, we still are, as we can't get a divorce until paternity is established. According to the law, I didn't know what to do. I broke down every day. Sometimes I still do. He just stopped talking to me. And never during the course of the fallout did he ask how I was doing, how the baby was. In fact, the baby was not his concern. I got to talk to him recently. He wants to be friends, thinks he can just show back up in my life after about a month of leaving me with the feeling of abandonment, and be friends like before. Says he wants to be there for the baby yet has no idea what that means. He says he's over the relationship because he can't focus. He says he was gaining weight and not working like he should. All of that, I said, is not on me. We don't even live in the same place. That's on you. But everything the entire time he was talking was about him. Everything that came out of his mouth was me, and I don't know how he expects to be a father when he can't even get past himself to think of someone else, much less a child. I still break down. It's so painful. I'm guessing that if he says he's not in love anymore, possibly he never was. Or maybe it's youth. Whatever it is, this is the worst heartbreak I've ever experienced. Anyone have tips on how to emotionally get through this? It's been such a roller coaster ride, and I'm just trying to make it to a healthy length of pregnancy. My husband is actually coming to see me tonight. I am scared and frustrated and I want to see him so badly. But then again, I don't. The emotions are raw, and he just wants to be friends. I'm not emotionally equipped to go from giving someone all my love and devotion to just friendship. All I can do now is pray. It's been almost 2 months since my husband left me pregnant and alone. We live on separate islands because of his job, so it was easy for him to cut me off from his life. At the time I was devastated and went through so much emotionally. I couldn't get by a day without crying. I had begun to have contractions and had been placed on bed rest for a while. This was bad as I was in the middle of moving out of a house to a smaller apartment. A decision we both made to save money so that eventually I could move to where he is and be with him. This past Sunday, I decided I would be courteous and call him because I am having more complications, most likely due to the stress of everything. And I figured I would let him know. It's still his son I am carrying. He proceeded to tell me that he was over with the relationship. Due to family pressure, the divorce was going to happen no matter what. But prior to him not talking to me, he wanted to work it out and keep the relationship. That's it, just like that. He was done and wanted out completely. He continued to say that the only relationship between us is because of the baby. I wanted to scream at his face all at once. Instead, I just fell to shambles and cried. Here he was throwing us away. I figured it would come to this and thought I was even prepared for it as he hadn't talked to me for about 2 months anyhow. He kept saying how he wanted a friendly relationship. Let's be friends like before is what repeated over and over. I told him that that was not possible now and I would call him later after I calmed down. I needed to go and hung up on him. I called him back later that night and he started talking about random things, instead of talk about our futures. I then told him, you know what? I can't do this. I can't be your friend. I don't know how you can turn it on and off, but I can't just be in love with you 1 minute and then switch the love button to off. I don't have a love button. I loved you, and you didn't love me the same. I gave him a piece of my mind, nicely. I wasn't throwing a tantrum or anything, and really, he had nothing to say for himself. At the end of the conversation he asks, "Can I call you tomorrow?" I was like, "What? Why?" He said, "I want to remain a part of your life." What is that? I was thinking that in my head, seriously. What kind of warped mind is that? But I caved, and said I guess he could call, but I made clear he didn't need any info on my life, as he was the one choosing to be out of it. The next night the same thing. 2 nights in a row he asks, "Can I call you tomorrow?" Then he says, "I'm coming back on Wed, can we meet sometime? We have a lot to discuss. We need to meet." I was not comfortable with that, and told him, "No, I'm just not ready to meet with you." But he called when he was here to say he had items that belonged to me that he wanted to return, so I agreed to let him stop by my house. He tried to hug me as soon as he got in the door. I was like, no. I pulled away, as I have major back problems with this pregnancy. Bed rest is what I am on yet again. And so, I had him bring a chair into the bedroom so we could talk. He was acting like nothing horrible ever happened. He kept finding reasons to accidentally touch me. He stared at my wedding ring a lot. I guess because I still wear it. Technically we're still married, and I don't know why. I'm just not ready to remove it. At one point he said he forgot something of mine and had to go and get it. I walked him to the door and there he managed to surprise hug me. I tried to get out but he kept hugging me, telling me it's going to be okay and that we'll try to work out our relationship. He also said, we shouldn't just throw us away. He kept hugging me and I started to cry. I cried because the entire time, all I wanted was to say that he still loved me, that he wanted to be with me, and maybe even if he didn't want to remain with me, to say that I had been an important part of his life, something, anything, because all I felt was like a piece of trash. So disposable, expendable. But now, here he was saying these things, and he even kissed me on the lips. And I couldn't, just my heart couldn't believe him. It didn't. I have no idea what to make of him. Is he only doing this because he wants something? I don't know. I had told him that he had given up the right to be in the birthing room while I was delivering, but welcome to be in the waiting room. He gave that up when he walked out on me, shut me out, and didn't even give a care to my health, nor the baby's. Is this his way of guaranteeing that I would let him in? And all the while last night while we're talking, his phone kept going off. Some girl kept calling him. We're still married. I just couldn't believe it. I really don't know what to believe anymore. I miss him so damn much, it hurts my heart so bad. And it is really hard because I was honestly trying to move on, preparing myself to have this baby alone, to do everything on my own. I was starting to not cry as much, and to slowly start the healing process for the sake of my upcoming child, and for the other children I already have. And he just totally yanked my heartstrings all out of whack again. I want to believe him so desperately, but my heart just can't take that kind of trauma anymore. I can't. Any suggestions? I don't know what to do. I love him so much. I am trying to be strong and stand my ground. And then I am also a sucker for him, melting at his words and wanting to do anything to remain with him. My soon-to-be ex-husband has started to boss me around, or at least that's what it feels like. And I swear he's bipolar. He came back after nearly 2 months after he dropped off the face of the earth. I'm going on 8 months pregnant and I just want to be off of this yo-yo ride already. I'm frazzled, my emotions are shot, I cry too much, 1 minute it's happy. And oh baby, I want to be with you. I missed you so much, and the next minute I need my space. You know, we are still getting a divorce. It's driving me insane and I literally just don't have the energy. He came back and said, let's work things out. We had some discussion. And then it was like, he wanted to bond right away. That's a no-go for me anyway, as it's so uncomfortable this far into the pregnancy. So, after the first 2 nights of trying to get some, he says, no bonding. From now on, none of that. We are going to take it slow. I had no qualms whatsoever about that. Then tonight he comes over. I don't know what to do with him. Does he need more time to be alone? Is he confused? He really doesn't get what this on again off again I love you crap is doing to me. What should I tell him? He always says I ask too many questions and demand too much. Like I don't know, acting like you want to be around me. He's only 25. I was attracted to him because he always seemed to have his head straight on his shoulders. And honestly, when it comes to everything else, he's very mature about things, so much so that people think he's older than I am, not because of the maturity level, but because he comes off as this very serious, always has a plan kind of guy. It's hard to explain. I've known him for a very long time and he has never been this wishy-washy guy with anything else in his life that I know of, so I guess he hid that stuff pretty well, unless he's just like that in relationships. His mom swears he's never had a serious relationship, although he says he's had a couple. Now that we are together and not just friends, I'm definitely seeing him in a whole new light. and it's not so pretty. These last few days have been the first time I've seen him in the past 2 months, give or take a few days. I wanted to hear him out and was not expecting him to mention any sort of reconciliation. I was prepared to start moving on, and him saying he didn't want to throw away our relationship just reopened my wounds a little. Especially with the way he's acting now. Last night I said that I hoped he was doing this because he wanted to, not because his family felt we should work it out. And that's when he said, "You ask too many questions and demand too much, like the way I say goodbye, etc. Why can't you just let things happen?" That was his question. I said, "Because I let things happen before and look where it got us. So now, I'm going to ask if you really want to be here or if you really want to be a part of the baby's life." I told him he needed to understand that the reason I ask about every little thing now is because he wasn't entirely truthful the first time around. He told half-truths and was so very standoffish. And also, because if he feels he doesn't really want to do this, then don't waste my time and break my heart again. Maybe you are right. We will need to step back from all of this and concentrate on baby's arrival. He will be leaving soon, and once he does, it will be easier to be further from these odd advances he turns on and off so well. So, my husband has been visiting every night for the past 3 nights now. He wants to start over. Right, and well, today, I run into him in a crowded area. We're both freelance photographers, and it so happens we both have younger siblings in high school. It's my sister's senior prom today, and his brother is attending as well. I saw him down at the function where all the parents were dropping off their kids. He walked into me and didn't say anything. He just walked on as if he didn't know me, didn't say hi or anything. So, now I think he's just using me so that I don't cut him off from the baby's life. Because he knows very well that I could fight for full custody and win. Now I'm sure he's really over me and trying to be nice or whatever just to get what he wants out of me. I'm truly starting to feel weak, resentful, and just beyond hurt. How do I get past this? I have to give birth in a month or so, and because I live in a tiny place with no hospital equipped for labor, I need to go to the city he's in. And I'm supposed to stay with him. I have no idea what to do now. It's like I know he's using me already. I know he's being so fake. I can feel it. He's not in love with me anymore, but is forcing it for some stupid reason. I know if I say anything, he'll just say that I'm being a nag and pushing him away. But I think I deserve more than that. I would never force him to be with me. I had begun to accept that we were over some time ago. Recently, he's been the one to come over and say he was wrong and wanted to start over. Personally, I would never keep a child from its biological family, even if it was over. That is one thing my husband does know, as I have other children from a previous relationship and we've had extensive discussions on parental rights, etc. The only way I would keep him from the baby is if I thought it was unsafe. And I don't feel that way at all. I would never think of keeping my child from her father like that, but my husband thinks that. Even though he's seen how it is with my previous children and their dad, I personally grew up without my father. I have photos of him and bad memories of him as a child. I feel even though the parents may not together, to have both biological parents in their lives is important, especially when both want to be involved. It's just my husband says we'll see how it goes with our relationship, but he can't say that he still cares about me, not in any context. Then he comes over and all he wants is a good time. And we're supposed to be taking things slow. Majority of the conversation ends up being about child custody. I am tired of repeating myself to him. I have no history of being a person like that, who uses their children as pawns in their breakups. That's horrible. So, I figured, I want to work on how I can be a better partner in the relationship. So I ask, how shall we go about this? Let's talk it out so we are clear and don't overstep any boundaries on either side. But any mention of relationship and he's ready to walk out the door. So, he's confusing me. He wants bonding but is still somewhat distant and can't express any feelings for me other than I want to be with you. I guess I just want to know the truth about whether he really wants to work it out or not. This doesn't affect the future of him and his baby. I just don't want to be led on another emotional roller coaster ride. I am going to be a single mother of 4 soon and I just can't take any more hurt. It is so very hard to do. It's so painful. He was just here this morning and flew back to the city tonight. This morning he was reluctant to leave. And then when he did, he hugged me goodbye for a long time and said, "I love you." He has not called me or texted or anything since then. It's like, I don't know what he wants, and when he leaves, he seems to have a double life. He drops all communication with me, etc. I'm beginning to be suspicious of him. I feel as though he may be seeing someone else. I can't explain otherwise why he'd just drop all contact with me when he was just here talking about I want to work it out. I love you. We'll talk every day. I promise. Why is he doing this? It's like, I don't want to hound him, but I don't like being toyed with. It's extremely painful on this end, especially when realization starts setting in that he's probably just using me. And if he is seeing someone else, why would he keep coming back? I feel like I'm seriously losing it. Well, my husband and I are getting divorced. We've been married for 7 months and the financial reality was too much for my husband. We had talked many times before we got married, but he says he was in his own fantasy land and assumed he could handle the financial responsibility. I'm a working mom of 3 kids whose bio father does not pay child support. My husband must really have not been listening when I said that I was doing it all alone. To top things off, my husband lives in a different city for work. So together we have been paying for 2 separate rents, traveling expenses in between, 2 sets of living expenses, etc. We are getting divorced now because the financial burden is too much, although he was never asked to support my other previous children. Oh, and we have a baby on the way, so I'm soon to be a single mother of 4. But I'm just wondering how other moms do it. Any moms with previous kids with deadbeat dads out there? If only I was getting regularly the child support that was owed to me monthly, there would be a lesser financial strain. The marriage may have failed anyway, because there are other factors. But this was one of the biggest issues. I'm tired of crying. I still love my husband dearly, and I know things won't change, with the help of so many who have shared their own trauma and divorce stories. I am slowly getting better and out of this depression, just when I thought things were better and I was stronger. Today is a rough day. Recently, my soon-to-be ex-husband and I have been on better talking terms, and he wanted to salvage what we could of the relationship and build, or so he says, had even began to say he loved me again, on his own. Not because I asked, "Do you still love me?" But maybe that was more of an automated response than anything else. Today I found out he is out with another girl hiking and picnicking at a remote waterfall. What is that? We had just talked. I had told him, if we were going to rebuild, it better be something he really wants to do. Not something he's just saying to keep the waters calm for the time being. Told him time and again, I don't want to be hurt by you anymore. I can't take any more pain. So, if you want to move on, now is your chance to go and move on. Don't come here asking to continue the relationship. He said he didn't want to move on, that his actions should be telling me what he wants, and it's not anyone else. What are his actions telling me now? I just don't know. I was crushed. I had told myself that even though we were going to try and work on this, to not expect too much too soon, but I never stopped loving him. Which is probably why it's so hard. I am on the verge of hating him, fiercely. All I wanted was him to love me. And he can't even prove that to me. It was all a lie. And I fell for it. Am I being used? I'm almost going on 9 months being pregnant, and 3 months since my shocking 6-month anniversary gift of my husband shutting the door on me and telling me we have to get a divorce, claiming it was the only way he could survive, that he couldn't handle the pressure of the word marriage. Yup, it was a total nightmare for me, but he says he thought I didn't care about him anymore. Which I don't understand, because every time we had talked prior to that time, every message sent, I said I love you and always expressed concern for him. Well, we've been talking for a while now. He still says he loves me, wants to make things work, etc. But not married. He says he still wants to get a divorce and start all over again. Whatever that means. This he told me a while ago. He's really so wishy-washy. This from the same guy who told me coldly, our relationship is at a civil level, for the baby's sake. But since seeing him, his coldness has more or less dissipated. I just went to the doctor, and so I had to rely on him to pick me up, and I even stayed with him. Now, I'm trying to get my paperwork done for financial aid type things, and last we spoke the divorce was being handled. I decide to ask him again while I'm there. I say, so how far along are the divorce papers? He says it isn't going anywhere. Then we're interrupted by a phone call. I try to ask why no divorce papers yet, and he's avoiding the question majorly. So, I'm left to make my own assumptions. I'm wondering if he halted the process because he will have to pay for child support. Or is it because he never really wanted a divorce and is saying he's going through the motions because his mother wants us to divorce? I'm so unsure. What could he be playing at? Is he just trying to get close again so he can take my son? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my husband, but he can be very conniving. I've seen him be so with other people. I am more worried than thrilled that my husband wants to be with me and that the divorce papers haven't progressed. Am I being overly suspicious? I don't know what his motives are, and I'm scared that if I bite his bait, which I've already started to nibble at, because damn, it's hard to let someone go when a few months ago you promised before God you'd love them forever. I'll just end up being the fool. For once I don't have a gut instinct. It's all on my overworking brain. How do I play it safe for myself? How do I keep loving him and not let down my guard at the same time? And can I really trust his words? I mean, no divorce, but he took his ring off months ago. I feel more confused than ever. I don't know what's going on, but he's really warped. He seems like he is torn between doing what he wants and what his family wants. but I just can't be sure, gosh. The trust is so hard once it's been broken, but get this, yes, it just keeps getting more bizarre. In the midst of all these problems, he says he wants to have more children with me and wants to get me pregnant again after this child is born. What? Are you joking? After I found out that he wasn't joking, I totally flipped my lid, so now I feel like he's playing nice so I'll have his babies or something. I already told him I'm not having any more kids unless I am with someone who is fully committed, who is with me for the right reasons, and can love all of my children, and who is as self-sacrificing as I am. And I'm definitely not going to have more children with someone who is hanging divorce over my head. Regardless of if he's doing anything about it or not, I just can't believe how twisted he is, seriously. I really don't know what to make of him. He's been sincere enough. But I don't know, it is so very hard to trust him again and take his words at full value. I am going to IC now. And it's helping to get through all of this myself. Hard to get MC because we don't live on the same island. I just take it one day at a time. I don't know what to believe anymore. I'm not hung up on the hope that we'll get back together or stay married. I have learned through this to keep realistic expectations. So, if we did split up, then, as loss. But it will be easier to move on from. It is as though we are starting all over again, like reforming the friendship. I call him, he calls me, we email, but not excessively like before. I think this is healthy for us. Minimal contact for now is good. We both need space, and we had rushed into each other last year, and what has happened to us is the repercussion of trying too hard too soon. I love my husband and I will love him always. We are in, I guess, the stage where our relationship, marriage went from fantasy to reality. And it was a rough and painful transition. I know for a fact that the divorce comes from family and not from having us so on the side. His mother just confessed to me that she didn't believe that I loved her son, and since the day she found out we were married, she had been pushing him every which way to get him to divorce me. I'm guessing that after the first 3 to 4 initial months of that, it started wearing down on him, so he shut her out, but in the process, he shut me out too. Saying he wanted a divorce and on top of that a paternity test, which I also later found to be because of his family. That was the most hurtful thing in the world and I completely fell apart. After talking to his mom, I guess I felt that maybe my H was telling the truth and that there wasn't anyone else in the picture. So now, the divorce is only words, completely non-existent, and when I ask him about it, he dodges me, so. I'm wondering, does he really not want to get a divorce? Is he just waiting till the baby's born? Or what? It's so emotionally taxing. I understand the feeling of going back. Like what? We're going to go back to boyfriend and girlfriend. Emotionally, it's messed up, but I told him I love him. And if that's the level that he'll feel more comfortable at, then I'd be willing to, because really, we are a young couple. We have not even been together a year. Although he's been a friend forever. So, been trying to reconcile for a while now and my H is back to his old mind games. Perhaps it's time I let go of him completely. I try, I love him so much, but I refuse to be hurt anymore. It's hard to admit that perhaps I made a mistake. Especially with something as big as marriage. He is back to being sneaky and unresponsive. We still live apart. If I say or ask him anything that he finds unfavorable, he'll just not communicate with me for days. And then he'll call or something out of the blue and act like everything's just fine. I normally don't attempt to call him or contact him in any way. Unless it's important, then I'll send a simple text or email that says, "Hey, text if you have a chance." It's regarding. So, he has a head up as to what I'm contacting him for. That's just me trying to stick to the 180 whenever possible. To try and not dwell on anything but my kids and myself. There's also a lot of trust issues. When talking to him about a different issue, he had said I will lie in order to get what I want. I just wondered if he just realized what he said to me. If he can make up stuff then. I'm sure he can lie to me too about all kinds of stuff. My trust in him was already low, now it's near non-existent. We've already discussed the trust issues and he put everything on me. He'll try to play psychological games with me. Saying things like, "It's your interpretation of things, that's your perception. I can't control what your mind thinks." It's never anything like, "I'm sorry. I'll be more aware of your feelings" or something. I have found that my H does not take any responsibility for his actions, does not care how he affects people as long as he gets what he wants, and is really just a selfish bastard with whom I wish I wasn't having a baby. He always says the baby is his son. I love this baby, I would never change my mind about having him. I only regret that his father is the way he is. And that I did not give enough time to get to truly know him before having his baby. I worry for my son. I want him to have a good life. Not be around fighting parents, or have a father that will drop off the face of the earth when he can't deal with things. How will that affect my son? I'm the one who's going to be dealing with my son's grief and my own. A child crying for their often non-existent father is painful. I've been through it years ago with my older daughters. And that's why I wish I wasn't having his baby, as far as not communicating with him. I mainly respond to him if he sends something. Right now, he's having a drop off the face of the earth moment, so leaving him alone won't really work like how it does on most people. My husband will turn it into a game and be like, "Well, I can ignore you longer." His response to it, "If you don't want to contact me, then I won't contact you. Trust me, I did it before and it was weeks before anything was said between us." And he was happy to talk, etc. After that long while. But the novelty wears off, almost half a year later. Now my son is 4 months old. My husband and I have tried to reconcile, but I've found out even worse things about him that I just am having a very hard time coping with. Infidelity, the things he watches on his computer. Just to name a few. Yet I still feel so sad because I remember the good times and how fun it was to be with him. And it hurts so deep because I truly loved him. We've only been married a year, but the majority of the year was in turmoil. My heart is destroyed, and I'm falling apart at the seams. I loved him so much. Why is it so hard to let go of someone I know is so extremely toxic and sick? Anytime there's a conversation, it's always my fault, and I have all the problems. And he's just such a jerk. I wish I could write a movie or book about him so that he could see how much of a jerk he really is. He's a movie guy. I love and hate him at the same time. I miss him and I want him to leave me the hell alone. I want to see him and I never want to see him again. I'm so torn. Worst part is, I can't just turn around and walk away, or leave. We share a 4-month-old son. I'm fighting the good fight. Sometimes I feel like I'm losing when I feel like I can't resist the urge to talk to him or see him. But then, inside, I know that he is unhealthy. And you are right. My husband is a huge manipulator. I love him, but maybe I don't love him. I love a representation of what I thought was him. I have to keep telling myself that's not the real him. The sweet him is just another mask. Another face to put on when he wants something, or is feeling bad, or who knows what they feel when they're doing that. I will never know if he's genuine or not. Never. We've been married for a while. I'd rather not say how long, but we've known each other for a long period of time. I miss him, but am coming to terms with the reality that he wasn't meant for me. And I don't have to torture myself and keep breaking my own heart by going back to him. I deserve better, and there is someone out there who is looking for someone like me, who will love me for me. And I'm not looking right now, but when the time is right, I know he will find me, or I him. And if it never happens, then it was never meant to be. I just can't believe that this crap I'm going through now is supposed to be my forever after. Excuses after excuses pour out of this man's mouth, and I find myself listening and understanding him. But I realize, yes, he's manipulating. He starts talking so much that he contradicts himself. I loved him and would have given him the world if I could, but he will never know how to truly love. He will never know what it feels like to love someone so much you would sacrifice just about anything for them. Months later, got served with divorce papers. I knew it was coming, but the feeling of devastation when being served is almost unbearable. I miss my ex-husband so much. The hard part is that it's uncontested, but his mother doesn't want him talking to me. She's always been jealous because we bonded on a level that obviously a mother would never bond with him on. She was jealous of our closeness. Recently it was getting nice again too. He was talking to me normally. And it felt like finally we made it through the ugliness. That is the hardest part. We are filing uncontested, yet his crazy mother refuses to let us sit down together to go through paperwork in fear he's going to change his mind. She hired a lawyer and all kinds of BS. But it's just horrible. I never thought my STB ex-husband would stoop so low as to treat me like this. Right when I thought he could be civil again. He's a total douche. He's only like that after he speaks with his mother. That's his thing. I wish he would grow up and think for himself. The feeling of loss is almost unbearable by itself. I just don't understand why they're being so mean. Don't they get how hard it is already? I can't lie, I miss him so much. It was definitely a whirlwind romance. And he stole my heart. I didn't just lose my husband, I lost a great friend, and that is what hurts the absolute most. He was my friend first, a good one. I wish I never crossed the boundaries of friendship. It is definitely heartbreaking to know that he can move on so fast, that I was not as important in his life as he was in mine. To realize that he not only has moved on but festered inside this hate for me. This needs to belittle me to people around me, to drag me down in order to make himself look good. I have never hated before, but I hate him. This has to be the most crushing thing I've ever been through in my life emotionally. I've never been so messed up. I'm trying so hard to be strong for my children, but my nerves are wearing thin. I want to wash away the bad memories. My comment: you got any advice for OP? Let me prepare the next story.